What's going on, guys? My name is Elden Hero and welcome to episode 104 of my FIFA 15 career mode. We're currently managing Manchester United and taking on Newcastle United at St James's Park in the Premier League at the very start of this episode. This was a match I was kind of looking forward to playing because I wanted to see if I could beat Newcastle easily as United boss, because I felt as though with the years going on at Leicester, every time I came up against them I was never sure of what formation to use to try and beat them. But in the 8th minute of this game, the ball comes towards Dybala. It's eventually intercepted by Stephen Taylor, but he loses it to Dybala, who plays it across the face of goal into the path of Hector Villalba, who scores really well. And I thought that was a really well crafted goal just because of the ball that Dybala lofted across into Villalba. It was just very well placed, I thought. But from the kickoff, Newcastle wanted to make an immediate amends. They wanted to make amends, but the ball comes to Hector Villalba inside the box, and he just does incredibly well and makes it 2-0. In the space of 2 minutes, we score 2 goals, and Villalba grabbing both of them, which is pretty incredible. But I've got a question for you guys at the start of this episode, seeing as the FA Cup is currently what's on TV at the moment. This video should be uploaded after the Arsenal-Hull City game, which is a replay of the final from last season, which is pretty cool. But my question is one that I've asked before, but it was like last year sometime, and I mean 2013 when I say that. But the question is, would you rather your team wins the FA Cup and doesn't finish in the top 4, or your team finishes in the top 4 but doesn't win the FA Cup? This is obviously a Premier League based question. If my club were in the Premier League, I would rather top 4 finish over the FA Cup any day. They always talk about the magic of the cup, and I have no idea what it, like, I don't know, it's all about Champions League football to me, really. But Newcastle did pull a goal back in the 32nd minute. I thought De Gea could have done more to save it, but then in the 45th minute, like, a real disaster kind of struck us, as it was Aarons on the edge of the box who got the shot off. Now, it went down as a David De Gea own goal, but that was the equalising moment for Newcastle, and that was a huge shame, I think, for our back line, because obviously only one team had scored against us up to this point. Newcastle becoming the second team to score against us in the entire league so far. But it felt as though when Villalba put in the second goal, that the momentum of the game just completely shifted in Newcastle's favour. And I don't mean that to say like the game is scripted. I mean, like, Newcastle just completely upped their game. They obviously went with a more ultra attacking type mentality, and as you can see from these highlights, none of these are chances for us. They are all Newcastle. They just would not stop coming forward with just, I don't know, this kind of just immense aggression, and that happens sometimes. Anita's shot went wide in the 78th minute, and we come out of that game with a 2-2 draw, which isn't too bad, to be fair. But we find that Timo Huppertz is going to miss 3 weeks of action with a sprained ankle, which is a shame because wingers obviously are in short supply at the club. We did kind of well in the January transfer window to get as many wingers into the club as we possibly could. But we go into our next game of the episode, and this is against Derby in the Capital One Cup. This is the 4th round, I think, now, having beaten who did we beat in the previous round? I can't even remember. Sheffield Wednesday, was it? I think it was. But this is the Derby lineup. They've got Johnny Russell, who is pretty good. Obviously, Will Hughes in there as well. We went with a much more weakened team, as you would expect, given that it's the Capital One Cup and nobody cares about it. But Big Romana got a shot in the 4th minute, which almost went in to that right-hand side of the keeper's post, but sadly it wasn't to be. Then in the 12th minute, Javier Hernandez comes running forward, and he was actually fouled on his way in. I thought the referee was giving us the advantage or something there. It was very strange, but it went for a free kick. At least that's what the referee awarded it, and it was Andre Schürrle who stepped over it, probably the most experienced player on the pitch in terms of taking set pieces, and Schürrle finds the back of the net with his free kick, which is really good. The first free kick goal that we've actually scored since we joined the Old Trafford club. But I reckon I've probably scored maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 free kicks in this entire career mode so far. It's definitely easier in this game. But we come up to the 24th minute of the game with Javier Hernandez doing really well on the edge of the box to create the chance to shoot, but sadly for him it hit off the post, so there was nothing that could be done about that. Then in the 27th minute, Antonio Vitas, the Serbian centre-back, steals the ball from Forsyth and comes down the right hand side of the pitch before putting in a cross, having gotten really lucky with this moment here. But he crosses it in to Alberto Jordan, who sees his header go just wide, which was kind of a shame because there's something absolutely incredible about a big massive Serbian centre-back running down the right hand side of the pitch going for the cross. But Roberto Soldado intercepts a poor pass to Keogh in the 33rd minute, but he sees his shot saved by the goalkeeper. And I call him Keogh because that's what the commentators say. It's Keogh. If you're an Irish person, you always say Keogh. In the 44th minute, the ball comes forward to Hernandez, who that's just like, is that even a penalty? Like, can someone leave a comment and tell me if you think that's a penalty or not? Like, I don't really know what else the player is going to do here at that point. Obviously, Hernandez went for the fake shot. It got dispossessed. It was Christie, I think, the Derby defender. But, like, what's he meant to do? There's nothing that can be done there. And Hernandez goes flying over him. And it goes for a penalty. That's what the referee awarded Javier Hernandez, who stepped up to take it himself and made it 2-0 easily, just on the brink of half-time, just in stoppage time at the end of the first half. But such a bizarre penalty decision. Like, not that I'm complaining, I suppose. But we come up to the 53rd minute of the game with us still applying pressure to the Derby backline. They hadn't actually had an entire shot in the game, which was really good. But Signorini comes forward. He got unlucky with that shot. I think he should have had a goal there, but the rebound came to Javier Hernandez, who made it 2 for him for the evening anyways. And then Derby came forward for their first attack of the entire game with Will Hughes on the ball. And they did a really nice kind of pass and movement, which I found hilarious, because up to this point they didn't have a single shot on goal, and then all of a sudden they're passing it around the defence like they're Barcelona. But obviously that shot was saved. I think it was Bennett who got the shot off in the end. And we come to the final 10 minutes of the game with the ball coming to Jared Romeo, who finds Pereira. He plays it into James Wilson, the second half substitute, who chips it across into the path of Jesse Lingard, who was in a very good position, and he does very well with the step over before finessing it into the right hand side of the net to make it 4 for us for the evening, which was pretty good. It's only Derby, but I think you go into any game in the Capital One Cup, and if you underestimate your opponent, you don't really do very well, because even though they're a lower league team, in comparison to us, they're still capable of damage. So I'm pretty happy with the 4-0 victory. Hernandez sadly missed the opportunity to get his hat-trick in the 86th minute when his shot hit off the post, but that's just a thing that happens sometimes as well. And here's how the tournament tree looks as we come out of it. As you can see, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and I guess Southampton would be the other team in there. Sadly, Andre Schürrle picked up an injury in that game, and he's going to miss 3 weeks. So now we have Huppert's out, we've got Schürrle out, we've got Johnny Evans out. We've got a huge injury crisis at the club at the moment with the amount of players that are out injured. But our next game is against Stoke City, and Chris Smalling and Johnny Evans make up the back line, meaning that Johnny Evans isn't injured, and what I just said was a lie. But Signorini goes in at left back, Romeo at right back, because we have another game midweek that we need all the players fit for. Stoke City's team is very good, and they've actually, a lot like Newcastle, they've become a team who've been more difficult to play as time has gone on. I do remember very well the first time I played against Stoke as Leicester boss, and they actually beat us convincingly. But then after that, I'm pretty sure I got the hang of playing against them, and they were relatively easy. But ever since then, they've signed Kruse, who's been very good for them. Bojan and Arnautovic always play out of their skin, and those 3 players that I mentioned just combined to put Stoke City 1-0 up at Old Trafford just before the 25th minute mark of the game, which was really good for them and their fans. And I don't know, I was a little bit worried, because as you can see from these moments here, everything is coming through Stoke at the moment. They're just playing incredibly well with all these immense passing movements down the wings, and passing it into the strikers, including Jamie Ness, Morris Edu, but Bojan, Arnautovic and Kruse are so. I might actually scout Kruse and give him a look, just see what he's like, because he might be worth signing for a backup striker or something like that. But we come to the 40th minute of the game, and we eventually do clear Stoke City's attack before giving the ball to Hector Villalba, who charges forward for what's pretty much our first attack of the entire game. And it was Villalba taking on Ryan Shawcross before using he doesn't use a fake shot, he turns back inside, goes for a strike with his left foot, but sadly it went just wide. But I realised from that moment that we had to do a lot more in order to get back into the game, so we changed to ultra attacking for the second half, and just tried to put everything forward and just try and turn the game around, because I was disappointed to have even conceded a goal to Stoke. But what really kind of infuriated me was how well they passed the ball around all of my players and how difficult it was to take the ball off them. But in the 64th minute, Dybala plays the ball into Johnny Evans, who rounds the goalkeeper and finds the back of the net, the centre back, getting his 3rd goal of the season overall. And he's actually been really good. I'm kind of glad we didn't sell him to Barcelona that time, because he has really come into his own. But Stoke City came forward in the 67th minute looking to regain their 1-goal advantage, as Marco Arnautovic passes the ball into Morris Edu, who sees his shot go just wide of De Gea's post, thankfully enough for us, as he's actually wearing the captain's armband. But we came forward in the final 10 minutes of the game, the final 20 minutes of the game, with Villalba's shot being saved by the goalkeeper and eventually cleared in kind of a scrappy fashion by the Stoke defence. Then we enter the final 10 minutes with Dybala on the ball. He plays it into James Wilson, who came on as a substitute, alongside Jesse Lingard, who picks the ball up on the edge of the box, does really well to evade the tackle and find the back of the net with a rifle of a shot. and he runs over to the Old Trafford faithful to celebrate, and that was a really, really good moment, because I thought bringing on Lingard and Wilson was a little bit of a risk, because they're obviously not as good as the other players that we do have at the club, but what an immense goal that was. I thought that was just such a really good moment in the game, and from there I parked the bus. I'm not too ashamed to say that. I thought the comeback in itself was kind of a really, really good feature, but Dybala came forward to take on the Stoke defence one more time before full time, and he did find the back of the net to give us a 2-goal lead in the game overall. Still disappointed to have conceded, because I really like our clean sheet record and stuff like that, but what are you going to do? That's just a thing that happens, and that is how the game ends. A 3-1 victory for us at Old Trafford against Stoke, and overall a pretty good episode in terms of our goals and the way that we're playing that slightly more attacking football. What we really need to do now, though, is carry that into the Champions League, and without the wingers we have available to us, it's going to be quite difficult to travel to Lyon, I think, which is our next game, and we're going to have to do that without Schürrle and Huppertz, because we are in the midst of this slight injury crisis. But that's the end of this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave a like. That would be much appreciated. I've been Elden Hero. Thanks for watching.